Now, welcome to another news from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And I think we got a lot of news today, so let's get right to it.
I think I've got 4 stories today.
But I think there's going to be a lot of rambling with some of them.
Deborah Chow teases surprises and says that the new series is all one big story. So,
What else would it be?
we have 29 days now until Kenobi. First, we heard that, the Grand Inquisitor Rupert Friend, he teased wonderful cameos and how Deborah Chow she's continuing this buzz train. Here's the quote we're going to be talking about today. Obi-Wan's going on a journey. There's going to be different people that come into his life. One of the things I was trying to do with the series was to have the legacy and who's important to Obi-Wan's life, and also some new characters. So it's going to be a mixture of the two. But I do think there are some surprises to come. I hope. She did have a bit more to say about the story that relates to the speculation of a second season. We really did conceive this like a beginning, middle, and end. It's one big story, and it was always meant to be. You can never tell what happens in the future, but if another series were to happen, it would be the same process of making sure there's a real story to tell. Ours is obviously very connected to the prequels, but I love the idea that there could be more stories over that timeline.
Do we need every moment of Kenobi's life in the desert or abroad, I guess, mapped out?
Maybe.
Do we, though? I mean, I have this fear that the Kenobi series, after what she said there, is going to turn into Solo. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, for those of you who watched Solo, I don't hate it. It's not the worst Star Wars movie, in my opinion. But one of the problems with it is everything that happens to Han Solo that is important happens in this, 2-week time frame. Like, he meets Chewie, he gets the Falcon, he gets his famous DL-44 blaster, he shoots somebody first. We have this, this whole story of his is, crammed into 2 weeks. I mean, he does the Kessel Run. Everything Kenobi is crammed into this one movie, Solo is crammed into this one movie. And now she's making it sound like, well, we wanted to bring every little facet of Obi-Wan's life into this one story. It's like, no, that's not what I would want to see. I mean, I don't know. It sounds like it's going to be I'm not saying this is what it is going to be, but it's sounding like a kind of a cameo fest at this point, right? He's just going to bump into everybody. He's going to talk to Bail Organa. He's going to meet Cad Bane for reasons. He's going to go save Leia. He's going to interact with Owen Lars and Beru, and he's going to meet young Luke and talk to young Luke. It's just going to be one kind of thing after another. And is this about Kenobi then?
It's supposed to be.
I don't know. I worry. Of course I do, because that's what I do about Star Wars. I worry about it. And
also just be them trying to hype up the show as well.
Well, of course they're trying to hype up the show, but you could hype it up by saying it's about Obi-Wan Kenobi, the most popular character in Star Wars.
But for some people, that's not enough.
Who is that? If that's not enough for you, then what is? I don't understand
Cameos,
that.
Clearly.
But I mean, if you're not excited to see Obi-Wan Kenobi again, who, as we've said before, is maybe the arguably him, Vader, Luke. I mean, he's top 3 characters in the entire franchise, perhaps. If you're not excited to get more of his actual story, what is bringing in X character gonna do? I don't get that philosophy.
I don't know. I don't have anything else to say on it.
I don't know. I maybe I'm in the minority here. Maybe other people are like, I can't wait to see all these other characters.
I'm in the wait and see group.
Oh, sure, but I mean, the point of talking about this is to give our thoughts and opinions. I know people are like, well, wait and see. That's a common thing. I always hear people say, you're judging it before. No, I'm telling you what I think going into it. That doesn't mean I won't watch it and go, okay, dead wrong. Loved everything about it, or that I won't find more to dislike about it. I don't know. That's what I do. I talk about it beforehand, I see it, and then I'll give you my honest thoughts, even if I turn out to be dead wrong about something. I mean, I proclaimed going into Book of Boba Fett, I thought it was going to be fantastic. I was saying, no worries about the show. It's going to be great. Of course, it's Filoni, Favreau. How can this go wrong? And then I watched it, and I was like, you know what? Not as good as I thought it was going to be.
That's true. Let's move on to the second news story, so you can get more angry, I guess.
This isn't angry. This is concerned.
McGregor, Christensen, and Chow on that iconic line from A New Hope and how the series could impact it. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. This line's been examined over and over since hearing Vader saying it the first time and hearing that they're going to cross sabers again in Kenobi. So let's kind of hear what people involved with the series think. So, Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen were asked whether Mustafar would be the last meeting between the two characters. Hayden said, maybe, question mark. Ewan said, maybe, it's fun. It's very clever how all these threads are created. It's like working backwards and forwards at the same time for the writers and Deborah. So what do you think on that?
Well, I mean, the line itself doesn't make a ton of sense after the prequel trilogy when you really think about it, because one, he doesn't really leave Kenobi. He was already a Jedi Knight, so it's not like he was an apprentice in that respect. I mean, the only thing it could kind of mean is it's Vader kind of pointing out the fact that the Jedi wouldn't make him a master, and that kind of did, impact his, decision making, if you will, going into the, in terms of Revenge of the Sith. So, but again, the line itself doesn't really make sense. So if you want to try to say, well, we're going to play around with it, and there's this meeting in between episodes 3 and 4 where he's not quite he's not a Sith master. Obviously, that is Sidious. He never becomes a Sith master, but
he's never a master.
Yeah, so even saying it in that, now I am the master. No, you're still not a Sith master. So again, it's a strange. It's one of those things where obviously when George wrote A New Hope, he's not thinking, well, in the prequels I'm going to be doing this, and then there's going to be this Kenobi series. Obviously he's just writing one movie. No idea he's going to even get a sequel. So you kind of forgive things, yet at the same time you do want things to line up with that film, right?
Well, let's get into what Deborah Chow said on the subject. This is a longer quote.
Okay.
It was definitely something we were very mindful of, and for me, taking on George Lucas's legacy, it's like an honor to take these characters and be able to tell a new story with them. So I wanted to be very respectful to what exists and not change anything that George originally intended or anything like that. Of course, when breaking new story, one can't help but impact what's already come, or what is to come. Obviously, there's room for interpretation here. And telling the story that they did have these 20 years, and obviously something happened in these 20 years, and that there are some things that are series where there's going to be a little bit more room for interpretation. Okay. So, reinterpretation, is that supposed to help the line from A New Hope? Possibly better align with the one from Return of the Jedi, which we kind of argued about earlier.
That we all argued about, off camera, if you will.
Yeah, where Luke and Vader meet on the elevator on Endor before Vader takes him to his master. Where Luke tries to, tell him
Luke says, come with me. Vader responds, Obi-Wan once thought as you do. You don't know the power of the dark side. I must obey my master.
Right. I mean, one interpretation that you weren't as fond of.
That's one way to put it.
Is, did Obi-Wan once thought as you do mean that he saw some sort of light in him that Luke could turn him, that maybe Obi-Wan had saw a light in him that he could turn him? Is that referring to, that? I mean, in Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan thought, A, he had killed Anakin, Vader, B, there was no good left in him or he wouldn't have killed him, right? So that would show that he met him again and possibly did see good in him.
No.
If you want to go with that interpretation.
No, I think it just means Obi-Wan and Anakin knew each other for 10, 12 years. And that's what Obi-Wan once thought of the dark side. Obi-Wan never really understood what the dark side was, never taught him what the dark side was correctly. I don't think it means that they met between episodes 3 and 4 and Obi-Wan was now having a change of heart. Like, come with me, Anakin, we can save you. Well, I don't think that's what it means.
But he had, years now to build up guilt off of what he thought he did.
But what he would have done, if he would have killed him, he would have rid the galaxy of Vader. That's what he thought he did. And that would have been, arguably the right move, right?
But how heavy is that weighing on his compass?
Well, certainly he feels a ton of guilt over failing Anakin and all these things. I'm not saying that theoretically if they met again, he wouldn't try to save him, he wouldn't change his tune, but I don't think that line implies that there was a meeting between the two. I don't get that impression in episode 4, right? We don't get that impression that there was a meeting. Yet this one line people like to say, well, it must mean that they met again and he tried to save him this time.
There very well could be the new interpretation, though, after the Kenobi series. That they did meet again, and the interpretation is that Obi-Wan saw good now.
My problem with what Chow says is that in one breath she's talking about how we got to honor George Lucas, and then in the next it's like we got to open it up to interpretation. there is no in between, right? You're either going to try to hold true to what Lucas intended, or you're going to open it up to interpretation. Those are two contradictory things.
Well, I guess on that note, we'll have to wait and see what their series does to that line. Because what happens if they do meet, and if it does play out that sort of direction, then that does change what the line means, whether we like it or not.
I mean, do you think Lucas intended for them to be meeting?
No, but unfortunately, he doesn't have a say anymore.
Well, sure, but my point is, if you're saying you're going to honor Lucas, well, and you don't believe he would have had a meeting between the two, well, then you can't open it up to interpretation and say you're honoring Lucas.
But we don't know that. Lucas changed his mind all the time, I'm sure.
Well, sure, but he
didn't want that eventually.
I don't think he would have, because I don't think that would have been a story he told. I don't think, if Lucas was still doing the franchise and still telling stories, I don't think he would have gone back to this story. For better or worse.
Probably not. No, he was looking ahead.
For the most part, he was going to do a solo movie, actually, so... And forgive me if my voice is very scratchy. I'm still trying to get over this. The last thing I have to get over is my voice is just not right. Anyway, I guess we can move on.
All right, let's circle back to your favorite topic.
Kenobi?
The Galactic Starcruiser!
Oh.
It's added new ways to take your money.
Surprise, surprise.
Time to revisit the ship that just rakes in the cash.
The money boat?
The money boat.
Which doesn't actually go anywhere.
No.
It's a boat that doesn't go
Stationary.
anywhere.
Alright, so starting May 2nd, you can get an image design face painting done. Of course, this fancy makeover will be an added cost.
No.
I'll have the images of the face painting. Don't worry, they're going to be up there on the screen for you. Probably already started them. So, sorry, image designs. Can't call it face painting. Sorry. First thing to note is that some of the images have the blue Batu approved symbol on the corner.
What does that mean?
Because if you choose to head to Batu for the day, you have to have one of these approved looks because it has less face painting done, or else it violates the park's costuming policy. Having a full face paint job like that, you cannot go to any Disney park. So you have to have an approved face painting or you can't go to Batu.
Okay.
It's all very complex.
I think we've talked about this before, where they don't let you dress up as the characters because they don't want you to...
If you're over a specific age, because...
They don't want you to fool children into thinking you are the character.
During a cast member, there could be issues. So this is part of the costuming policy, obviously.
I think people can figure out why that would be bad for an adult to dress like a Disney character in a Disney park and to lure children to them. Anyway.
Yeah. Next, the service can be scheduled 60 to 1 day in advance of your trip, but it must be canceled for a full refund 48 hours before the appointment. Otherwise, you don't get any money. So the makeover experience takes place in the entry area within your cabin, and the door will remain open the entire time of the appointment. I guess that's to make sure there's no funny business going on. It is your cabin.
Okay.
The experience is, face paint only. Costuming in the images is not included. But if you have any extra headpieces or anything that you spent all the money buying, you are encouraged to wear them and they will match and make it all look great for you. Guests should be in their cabin 15 minutes before the appointment. The service takes about half an hour to complete. Lastly, guests must be 7 or older with a parent or guardian present the entire time if you are under 18. I mean, the face painting looks really cool and stuff.
Did we get a price on this?
No.
Yikes.
Well,
that's a bad sign, right?
it doesn't start until May 2nd, so
well, that's
unless you're scheduling to book one, I don't see a price.
Whew. I can only imagine. That's probably a really expensive half hour. And
well, what happens if they show up and your skin, you find out you're allergic to the paint they're using? Do you not get a refund? Because it's not your fault.
I think, or would want to hope they would give you a refund.
There's got to be some fine print on that, most likely.
Yeah, probably the fine print price is no refund. Sorry, not our fault you're allergic to our makeup.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the designs look cool and stuff, but even if you're going down to Batu, especially if you're a kid, parents out there understand. How hard is it to keep your kid from touching their face when they have face paint?
Impossible?
Yeah. Florida's not exactly, in California, not exactly known for being cool weather either.
No.
So you get your face paint, you're Batu approved, you go down to the service, and now your face paint is just smeared and running across your face.
Yeah. You're going to look like some kind of freakish undead alien thing, probably, by the end of the day.
Uh-huh. I could see that.
Yep.
I wouldn't pay for the service. It's just, I mean, you're paying for something that you ultimately don't even get to keep. You just wash it off your face. You get some pictures, and that's about it.
Yeah, it's one of those things
not my
where I
thing.
think there are programs out there that can kind of do your face up, and so it's like, do you really need to pay? I mean, if you're going to a cosplay event or something, sure,
Right,
cool.
right, yeah.
But like you said, out in the hot Florida sun, I don't know if that this is where you're going to want your face painted up.
No. Alright, last today, Star Wars The Mandalorian MMO reportedly in works for Xbox. This story is a new rumor. I want to make that clear right away.
Stress rumor, because we just heard about another new Star Wars game, so.
Yeah. Ever since it was announced that the remake of KOTOR was a PlayStation 5 console exclusive, Xbox has been gunning for their own piece of Star Wars. The rumor is coming from two different sources on Twitter, one of them being Nick Baker. He is one of the most prominent leakers, insiders when it comes to Xbox. Last year, Baker relayed that ZeniMax Online was working on a Mandalorian game. Then we heard nothing until this week, when a separate leaker heard the same things and added that it was an MMO, which isn't surprising as this is the studio responsible for the Elder Scrolls Online. Baker also signed off on the new information, but of course, take this as a grain of salt as nothing is certain until we have, well, official release information.
Does this make Mandalorian MMO, does that make sense even? I mean, what is the kind of the premise of the game?
Who can say? I don't know. By Mandalorian, do they just mean within the Mandalorian universe?
Is it the timeline?
The Mandoverse?
Yeah,
That
because
time?
that's kind of become...
Do you just get to play a random Mandalorian doing bounties and stuff? I mean, who knows? There's no
like-
information. It's a rumor.
I mean, I guess that could work if you have several different planets and you hunt down bounties, and maybe you can work together for bigger bounties. I don't know. I guess I don't know that that's like an MMO premise. It sounds like a cool game premise. It's just a normal game.
Like I said, there's just not enough information to actually make a
it's
picture of what this would be.
yeah. It's just like I said. It's just a strange combo in my opinion. I could see a Mandalorian game hunting down bounties, and you can team up online with friends to take them down. But MMO, unless like you said, unless it's just set in that particular time frame, which very popular time frame obviously right now. So that would make
and bounty
sense.
hunters working for their own guilds to make money and bring down
Yeah,
bounties.
it could work. I
It
guess.
could work.
I still think it works for just a normal game, not necessarily MMO. But who knows? I mean, we do have a Star Wars MMO. Old Republic is still alive and well. Have yet to ever play it, but maybe one of these days. All right. Well, I guess that is all we've got for you this time. So take to the comments below. Tell us what you think about all these comments about Kenobi. What do you want to see out of the series? Am I complaining too much already, or what? Or tell us what you think about the new face painting, or what you think about the possibility of an MMO Mando style. Whatever the case may be, leave your comments below, and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.